What happens at Grandma's stays at Grandma's is a model for you and your grandkids. If it's fun, it's fair game. But lately, hip pain has you grimacing more than laughing. And that's the moment you realize life's too short to put off treatment any longer.
The Joint and Spine Center is Cincinnati's leading destination for orthopedic care, with hundreds of joint replacements each year. So when a moment has the power to change the rest of your life, go to the one place with the power to change it for the better. The Christ Hospital Health Network. This changes everything.
The Pound This podcast is brought to you by the Christ Hospital Health Network. This is the Pound This podcast, episode 666, Shay's Weight Loss Journey Weekly Updates.
I want to lose weight, but I don't know how to get started. What should I meal prep every week?
How do I get those sweet booty gains?
Inspiration for your healthy lifestyle. The Pound This podcast with Amanda Valentine.
Thank you so much for listening to the Pound This podcast. I'm Amanda Valentine. Shay's here. What's up?
Hi, girl.
Hey, I'm going to need you to get a little closer to that microphone.
Oh, Lord. Get real close.
As we're improvising in a lesson in what a hot mess Amanda is today that we're recording at the gym. And I got all the way here because I'm going to be here for like, how many hours today? I don't even know. Like 11 hours or something? I don't know. And I forgot everything, or remembered everything but my laptop to record the podcast. But luckily, we have a studio full of toys that I can improvise.
You found some toys to work with.
Yeah, right?
Some toys to use.
So that's where I'm at the level of recording this podcast.
Wow.
Right? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. So
nice. Well, you just came straight from Pilates at Pilates. How was that
Yeah,
today?
It was good. It was relaxing today, which was kind of nice, just to like be a little zen.
Be a little stretchy?
Yeah, get a little stretchy, stretch the body out, real nice.
That was not my experience last time at Pilates, which is fine. But that was like, it was like, let's kill your abs day.
Oh, God.
But it's like that good kind of pain where you're like,
dude.
ooh.
And then your abs hurt for days.
Mine actually don't. I don't know how that happens. The only time they're sore is I don't even know what it is. And I'm sure Shelly's listening to this and you can tell me that it's like the big black foam thingy.
Thing.
Oh, see, I love it. That's the only time I'm sore.
It hurts my back. I'm like,
you have to get on it a weird, funky way for it to not
I think I just can't relax enough to like, yeah. I'm like, what is this?
I'm into that.
Don't like, yeah, you're into it.
I just want a little pain with it.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh my God.
So how else has been going? Everything been going as far as health, fitness, food, etc.
Fitness has been good. Food's been okay. I feel like I'm in a food rut. Like I'm just tired of everything I've been eating. So I'm trying to I'm literally on Instagram. Like, what do other people eat to get ideas?
Yeah.
That happens every couple months where I'm like, all right, I got to switch something up.
Pinterest is helpful too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes what I'll do with that is be like, okay, what can I do with zucchini? And then just to look and see what people are and find or healthy zucchini recipes or something to be like, I know there's something that I've probably made in the past and I'm blanking on and just something will spark oh yeah, I made this one time. I don't know. That's helpful to me.
Sometimes
anyway.
I'll literally go back on my fitness pal and be like, what was I eating? At this point, because I forget stuff that I've done before.
Oh yeah,
so.
Me too.
Yeah.
That's where I'll see old pictures will show up in my memories and be like, I don't even remember making that, or having whole meal prep weeks that I did stuff and I don't remember those meals.
Yeah.
And for me, since I am such a meal prepper, of I do the same thing with Instagram to get some inspiration, but all of the meal prep accounts, at least I found, unless somebody's listening and has a better suggestion, let me know. You can find me on Instagram at You Can Pound This, is they're not what those people are eating. You know what I mean? They're meal prep accounts.
Yeah.
And they make it look real pretty and fancy, and they'll have it all stacked up in their fridge and stuff. And I'm like, I don't really think they're eating it because it doesn't seem
edible.
I mean, it does, but it just, I don't know. It just seems like it's more for the gram. You know what I mean? It's more for marketing than it is this is real life, what I'm eating for my goals food.
Yeah.
So I've never really I follow so many of them and I've never really found a recipe on any of them or thought of anything where I'm like, oh, that looks good. I'm like, that looks like that won't hold up for a week.
Yeah.
That looks like it'd be good in the moment when you make it and then would suck ass the next day.
Since I don't meal prep, I don't really deal with that quite as much. I'll meal prep for 2 days, but not for a whole week. So then it's not quite as difficult. But yeah, I don't really follow a lot of meal prep accounts because I don't know. That's just not something I feel like I'm ever going to do, like prep for a whole week and eat the same food. I would just end up not eating it and then it would go to waste.
Yeah. See, I mean, everybody's got their own jam,
Yeah.
which is, I know that I'm in the rare percentage of people that want to cook for the whole week just because I don't need another thing to worry about every day, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, it's like my brain's already on overload. Obviously, I'm forgetting things now.
Mm-hmm.
And that I'm like, I can't sit here and figure out my calories and macros day by day and do a math problem every day. I just, like, I can do it. I know how to, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
It's bad enough doing it once a week.
I wish I could do that. I just would go crazy eating the same thing.
Yeah. I know that's where I'm weird. I would rather just eat the same thing and not think. I'd rather just have my brain turned off than anything. I'll deal with boring food.
You're like, I can do that.
I know, right? I'm weird.
You are, but that's why we love you.
So,
my
will you
God.
stop it? So how is that? I know that you have plans with your boyfriend today as far as like food goes. Like, how has that been an interesting part of the mix of like, hey, you know, you're in a new relationship and going out to eat, and that's just part of the thing.
Yeah, thankfully we haven't gone out to eat a lot, and I don't know if that's just like COVID related or what. Like tonight we're gonna go to Eli's, and I feel like there I can eat like the meat and then not have to get stuff like mac and cheese and all of that. So I'm also trying to like it's okay for me to like once a week eat something that's not fantastic.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I don't ever do a whole day, but yeah, thankfully this relationship has not really revolved around food at all, which I really love. Because I feel like that's really hard when you start dating. And that was part of why I was scared to even date, because I didn't want to like take, 10 steps backwards just because I got into a relationship. So, and he likes to cook, so that's cool because then he can just cook at his place, and then it's not like we're going out and eating a bunch of unhealthy food. Yeah, and it helps we only really see each other like once or twice a week, so it's not like every day we're like, oh, let's go out and eat something.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's like, it's been okay. It's been really interesting for me because that was definitely something I was fearful about, was because I tend to like really focus on myself until I'm in a relationship, and then like I forget all about me. So, yeah.
Sounds super healthy so far.
Yeah, it's very different, but in a good way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm glad I'm in therapy, so I can like like anything that comes up, I'm like, okay, how do I handle this?
Yeah, let's talk through this.
Like, how do I do this in a healthy manner?
Right.
Yeah.
So last week we talked about how you hadn't told him that you've like lost weight. Has that come up yet? I mean, it's only been a week.
I just don't know, like, and I talked to my therapist about it, but I just don't know like the appropriate way to like bring it up, because it's such an awkward thing to just like say. So
well, I was thinking, because after we talked about that, I was like, well, then you must not know that you're on this podcast then.
No.
So.
Because I don't want him to listen to it.
Yeah, I know. That's where I was going to say of like, well, what if he finds out? I mean, he's your boyfriend. If if they're going to have any sort of longevity, he's going to find out.
Yeah.
So then.
Well, and then I have my Instagram, which he's not on social media, so that helps me keep it like a little more private, but it's like a big part of me, so at some point I have to share that. But it's such a strange thing to be like, oh, hey, bro, I've lost 90 pounds.
Well, I mean, maybe the podcast is a way to be like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm on my friend's podcast every week, and because I talk about this just in case, it ever comes up somehow, and be like, I would prefer you not listen.
Yeah, I know. It would just be weird to have him go back and listen to.
Yeah, I mean, do you think that if you asked him not to, he wouldn't?
I feel like if I asked him not to, he might be more likely to listen.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's nothing. I don't feel like there's anything I've said on the podcast that I would like be upset for him to hear, because I want him to like genuinely know me. I'm not trying to be in a relationship where I'm like not 100%. So that's why I'm trying to figure out how to, in a natural way, bring it up without. Yeah. It's so confusing.
I mean, maybe he's had that experience too. Do you think that he would have that and not tell you?
What?
Like if he like lost 100 pounds.
Well, see, here's the thing, Amanda. I feel like with my body, you can tell that something's happened, but do you know what I mean? Like based upon what my body looks like.
What are you saying, like loose skin sort of
stuff?
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's why I don't know. That's why I'm like, almost feel like I have to tell him to like justify what my body looks like, which is a weird.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's in your head.
It is in my head. So.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's just, I think it's just such a great accomplishment, and it's such a part of who you are.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but I don't at the same time, because it just seems like something. This dude seems super nice, even though I'm not.
He
met him,
is.
that he would be like, that's amazing, and be super proud of you. And I just think it's just knowing you and just like how outgoing, and even yesterday, like at the gym, like how loud and inappropriate we all are. To be like, I'm afraid to let somebody know that I've had a weight loss journey. I don't know. It's just so interesting to me.
I think I'm just so afraid of like people's attitudes towards overweight women specifically.
Yeah.
Like I'm literally horrified by like men's responses to that. Like so many dudes are like disgusted by overweight women, and like obviously he likes me right now, and I'm not like skinny by any means. So I don't think that he would be that way, and I don't want to be with him if he is that way. But it's just like this fear of like how I'm going to emotionally handle it if he doesn't react well. Like that's not going to go over well for me. Yeah. Emotionally. So
well, if he doesn't act well, then that's a good sign to like
peace out, bro.
Right? Of like, okay, let's get this over with before we get any further into this.
And I really like knowing him, don't think that would happen. It's just all like jacked up in my head. And that's like all the things thus far that I've struggled with is mostly revolved around my body, and none of those things are his fault. Like he hasn't said anything negative to me about my body, like doesn't act like he's not attracted to me in any way. Like he tells me I'm beautiful like every single day. Aww. So he's told me that I'm beautiful more in a month than my ex did in freaking 4 years. So
that's why he's an ex.
Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know. It's just all in my head where, it's confusing.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's fun to be an overweight woman.
Oh yeah, such a
it's
party.
So fun. Woohoo! Yay! Love it for me.
But I mean, I don't know. But honestly, I don't know. It
is just like a big part of like I go see Josh twice a week. I go to Shalati's once a week. I do the podcast with you. So it's all these things that are a big part of my life. Yeah. And like obviously he knows I eat healthy. So I don't know.
I'm just trying to think if like at this stage, I have a damn podcast and an own business based around health and fitness and my weight loss journey. So I don't think I would be able to be in the same boat. But like, let's just say if I were and I was finding myself dating in a new relationship, how I would handle that. Yeah, it's interesting. Of like, is that something you just throw out day one to be like, I'm going to get this out of here? And
well, that's what I did with Milkshake Man. So I think that's part of the problem. I was like, just kind of said it, and then he like asked me if I want to go get a milkshake. So then it's like that's traumatizing for me too, to be like, who knows what kind of like shit thing a man's gonna say to me about it. So it's
I was just having this discussion yesterday, not from a weight standpoint, just being a woman standpoint, of like being harassed or catcalled, and like of like trying to explain to a man that like this is why there's fear around, like if I'm in a parking garage and like I know you, and if I saw you in the parking garage I wouldn't be afraid. If I'm alone in a parking garage and there's some dude and he just happens to be going the same direction to me, there's part of me that is like, clutch my keys, you know what I mean, of like, you know, I mean, even though it doesn't feel like you're being chased or anything, but it's always just kind of like, could this happen? And like, and then we were discussing like catcalling. And he said, you know, I don't understand why men catcall. Like, what did they think they do? Women are going to turn around and want to go get some. And I'm like, really? It's just to show dominance.
Yeah, it's
power. Like, it's going to, what are you going to do? I'm like, how many times does a guy catcall a woman? She turns around and back and like kicks him in the nuts. Right. Like it doesn't happen. And so they do it to be like, I got power over you. Yeah. And that's why you do that. I mean, that's why I get honked at all the time and shouted at. And I've been punched and grabbed and everything else, just being a pedestrian. And it's scary. And in this conversation we're having, I'm like, I don't walk around in fear all the time, but when it presents itself, you just have to
be I feel like I have to be aware all the time.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I can't go for a run or a walk with headphones in because I have to be constantly aware of my surroundings.
Public. Yeah, like, well, even, so me and my friend were on a walk the other day, and we're in a very public area, and there was a man, like, visibly staring my friend up and down. Not even trying to be, like, secret about it. Like, just very visibly fucking staring at my friend's whole body. And it's, again, that's like a total power move. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Like, let's make her feel small and intimidated, like she's an object.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think this is how this conversation started that I was in yesterday, was when I went on a job interview last year.
Oh, yeah.
And the moment the man that was interviewing walked in the room, scanned me very obviously up and down, put his hands in prayer and looked up and goes, "Thank you, God." And I'm like, okay, that's how this is going to go. And in the conversation, my friend is like, so in that moment, is there any part of you that takes any part of that as a compliment? And I'm like, no, not really. I'm like, okay, so this guy thinks I'm attractive on some level, whatever. But I'm like, no, like, really what he's trying to get power in the conversation. I mean, coming into a job interview too, that's one thing.
Right.
And I'm like, but it also gives me power, because the moment he did that, I'm like, I know exactly who this dude is now. You know what I mean? Of like, okay,
yeah,
this is okay. I know who I need to be in this conversation.
Yeah.
For me anyway. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people who would be like, F you, I'm out.
Yeah.
And go complain. I mean, that was just my reaction of just kind of like, this told me everything I need to know.
Yeah, it does. You're like, okay, I know what kind of man you are now.
And none of it was be my boyfriend. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it's just kind of like, but do I think that I would have had, and I went on plenty of interviews when I was up front 100 pounds heavier. I never had an experience like that.
No.
And would I have an experience like that if I hadn't lost weight? And that's a whole conversation in its own of treatment of like, well, that's not positive treatment from losing weight. That's so maybe before I wouldn't have been hired for some reason because I was overweight and didn't look apart, especially working in media.
Yeah.
So I would have been held down from my weight there. And in this scenario, I got held down because I lost weight.
Right.
Like, it's just so whacked.
It's
like
confusing.
There's no win.
Right. Well, and like when I like started losing weight, part of my fear was getting more attention from men. Like, I don't really like that. So now it's very interesting to be in a smaller body and get more attention from men. It makes me mad, one, that I'm getting more attention from men, and it's scary to me. So it's very, like, I think part of why I was overweight for so long was because I thought it was like protecting me. So then I had to like shed that protection. Yeah.
It's because it feels like you hide behind the weight.
Yeah.
You like cover
and
up.
I'm like,
and
no guy's
hide.
gonna touch me, bother me, whatever, because I'm a bigger girl.
Yeah. But that's also not true either.
No. And that's
And
that's
we
part
both
of
know
why I
that.
decided to lose weight, because I was like, well, they're going to bother me either way.
Yeah, right? At least I just need to have more confidence in the fight.
Yes, that is right. I just need to be a little meaner.
Right? Oh, my God. And it's just like, yeah, that's where the, conversation of, God, it's just like being in a female body.
Yeah.
Whether, no matter who it's from, male, female, whatever, it's just kind of like, it's just a different experience. Like, I don't know what it's like to be a man either. Not saying that's necessarily better, but
right.
it's like, it's just different.
Yeah.
And how, like, so many men can't understand, like, where, like, Me Too and everything is coming from.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I don't know how you can't get this, because
Right.
this is just life.
Yeah. Well, even like you were talking about how we have to be, like, we can't like go for a walk with headphones on, or like when I pump my gas, I make sure my car is locked. And then I'm like super aware when I'm putting my groceries in my car that no one's around me. So it's like men can't relate to that either. They're just going about living their lives.
Yeah, without a second thought.
Right.
Unless something happened to them.
Right. Yeah, because that's another issue too, is things do happen to men, and that's not really talked about.
Yeah.
So,
which it should be.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think all of these issues, and just even like we're coming from like body image and binge eating and all of those things, these things that like we hold so much shame against. If we just let it out, it'd be so much better for ourselves and just for everyone to like not just hold on to this and like kill yourself with it.
Right.
Just like, especially like thinking of like binge eating and shame around that, of like, it feels so much better to be like, I'm saying this out loud.
Yeah.
And I'm admitting this to myself, and I'm admitting this to people around me. And it's just like weight off your shoulders, no pun intended. But, or any of those things, or any sort of like abuse or attack, or any of those things that you just hold back and internalize of like, if we just had the discussion instead of like, you know, the shame around it. I don't know, not to go into Brene Brown territory.
No, but it's true. Anything like that's been like huge for me in therapy is anything I feel shame about. As soon as I like put it out in the open, I feel like a new person. So like even things that I've done that I've been afraid to like tell my therapist about, she'll ask me like, how do you feel now that you've told me that? And I feel like 10 pounds lighter every time.
Yeah. That's also an interesting topic too. Things that you're afraid to tell your therapist about.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I don't know if there's anything really I'm super afraid to tell her, but it's not like that I would be afraid forever, but it's just like I have to have my own timeline and process to open up to things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah, mine is more like, oh, I made a shitty decision that like I shouldn't have made after being in therapy for 8 years.
Oh,
so
well, it's not like it fixes you.
No,
completely.
It doesn't. So yeah, it's just more like I'm like, wow, I did that, and now I have to tell someone about it. So yeah. But otherwise, I mean, she literally knows everything about me, so there's not a lot that I'm scared to tell her. And normally I'm like, she doesn't ever react in a negative way, so I don't know why I do. But it's the shame. Like I feel ashamed of it, so I don't want to tell someone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say about therapy though, like I'll get into like, this is happening or whatever, as I'm thinking, what do you think about this? And she'll like sit back and be like, you know, like she's like, I don't want to like tell you what to do or really give you advice. I'm like, okay, let's pretend you're my friend right now, not my therapist. And she's like, we can't do that.
Because I am your therapist.
And I'm like, oh, come on.
You're like, I'm paying you so much money, just do it.
Yeah, pretend we're drinking wine and we're just kind of hammered and you're just going to give me like, just like for real advice.
Oh my
God. No, we can't work it through it that way. I'm like, damn.
You're like, but I
just want some answers.
You're like, I just want it to be easy.
Right?
Oh my God.
So I feel like I'm probably annoying in that way. And that's where I get in my head too of thinking of like, what am I like as a patient to my therapist compared to other patients? Like, am I like, hey, she's cool, she's no big deal? Or is it like, God, she's a lot.
I wonder that because I have clients I feel that way about. Some I'm like hyped to see, and then other ones I'm like, I'm going to need a drink after this. So I'm sure therapists feel that way. They're like, ooh, I'm going to need 30 minutes after that one just to sit.
Right? I don't even know how you couldn't. That's a lot to take on, man.
I don't know how they do that job because I don't know. I like take people's like feelings and I hold them. Like I have a really hard time like not taking on people's emotions.
Same.
So I could not be a therapist.
Now that and that, I could also not be a nurse.
Oh no.
I'm like, oh my God, that would just be the hardest job in the world. Of like, of like not only, I mean, you have to be there, people, you have to do you're on your feet, you're doing all of the things, you're busy as hell, but then you're with people that possibly at the end of life or in the worst time of their life, and you know, trying to make them feel better. I'm like, oh my God, I would just I would last a day.
I feel that way about veterinarians too.
Oh my God,
I could never too. Like I cry more. Like one of my coworkers, her cat just died, and I cried about that. But then my coworker's grandpa died, and I didn't cry. And I'm like, oh man, Shan, you and those cats.
I get it though. I mean, I'll watch stories or watch videos on TikTok about somebody else's pet dying and cry.
I know.
And I'm like, why is this in my feed?
I'm like, it's because they don't want Sebastian to die ever.
That's how, I mean, I can't think about my animals now and worrying about them dying, but Marty, because I was so obsessed with my cat Marty, when the whiff of thinking about her dying was, I would just start bawling. And so, when she actually died, it was like, it was bad. It was really bad. And one of the worst parts is like, she was just so sick at the end. Like it just escalated so quickly. She had cancer that like the night before is when she just went downhill. She could barely breathe. She couldn't like move. And it's like, I can't take the pain away from her. The vet's closed. I can't end this for her tonight. And that was just so painful. And so in the morning, first thing we took her in, And I don't even tell the story of like, it was so awful putting her down. And then I got to go be on the radio.
Oh man. And put a smile on.
Face on. So I talked about it like in one break. So like 2 minutes out of my whole show, I talked about it and just lost it and cried on the air. And then next break, it's like, hey everybody.
Yeah.
Who wants to win concert tickets?
That's how I feel at my job. I feel like I'm like an actress most of the time. It's like my clients can't, like some of my clients, like I can share things with, but I can't, it's their time. So I have to be like, good to go.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably most jobs.
Yeah.
Like you have to have like your game face on, your work face on, because you can't.
You get 3 days if someone dies, man. After that, you should be good to go.
Oh my God. But it's just, I mean, thinking about anything, like if I came to you to get your hair done and I showed up and like, how are you? And you're like, well, honestly, I feel like hell. Let me tell you about it. I'd be like, whoa. Okay.
That's like a big no. Like stylists that do that, I'm like, no, did no one tell you? Don't do it.
But sometimes I think I would find that refreshing though.
Yeah.
Depending on how they do it, where I'd be like, hell yeah, thank you for being honest. Or even like, I've very rarely had this where just like a cashier where I'm like, how you doing? And they're just like, I can't wait for this shift to be over. And I'm like, I hear that. I feel for you.
Yeah.
Thanks for being honest and not like gritting your teeth and be like, great.
It's awesome. I love my job.
Right?
Woo!
So I think it's to the point of like, you can appreciate the brutal honesty, but then when it starts going into a bad place and you're like, okay, this is a lot for me to take on for you right now.
I know.
Like I want to help you, but also I'm going to back away slowly.
Oh my gosh. I know. Yeah. That was really hard for me at my job last year because everyone was going through so much. So it was like every person who sat in my chair was just like so down in the dumps. And I was like, I do not have enough love to give. Like, I was like, I just don't have enough.
Does it feel better now?
To an extent. I feel like a lot of people in my life are just going through some rough stuff right now. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, the pandemic might be a little better, but I just feel like so many people are getting hit with other things now. And I'm like, I just like don't always feel like I have enough love to give everyone.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's where, I mean, were you talking about like just taking on people's emotions?
Yeah.
Like, and I do that too. And that's why I think just all of 2020 and everything felt so crushing on top of like just your own crap and dealing with it and trying to process everything. But then like, that's why I had to like delete Facebook and I stopped watching the news and I stopped using Twitter because I'm like, it was just like, I would just take on everybody's crap and like everybody's anger and fear and sadness. And I'm like, this feels like a tidal wave and I am being swept under. Yeah. And that's at the point where my therapist is like, you are going through some depression. You need to take care of this. Cause I'm like, I can't function.
Yeah. It's not good.
Right. And I'm like, oh God, it's just brutal. And so I'm trying to learn more like boundaries and barriers now. And I'm working with someone, whether you're into this woo-woo-y stuff or not, of just kind of like trying to think of like building your own like energy field around you of like blocking out other people's stuff to a degree, and how do you protect like your own energy from being swept up into other people's stuff and trying to take it on for them. Like, oh, here, this is too heavy for you. We'll just pile it on me. Yeah. So I'm not great at it, but at least I'm mindful of it and trying to work on it, which is the best that anybody can do.
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome.
So it's a lot of stuff. And especially like whenever, then, on top of pandemic, I was just talking about like weight loss and shame and body image. There's just so much negative emotions around that too, where that's where I feel like, God, I just wish I could take it away from everybody. Like all I want to do is make everybody feel a little bit less than I had to feel it. Yeah. And so like sometimes that can get super overwhelming too, of like hearing people's stories and where they're at, or at the point where they're like, oh my God, please help. And I'm like, oh my God, I how can I just like give you my heart right now?
Yeah. I've been experiencing that a lot with people who like remind me of where I was before I lost weight, where I'm like, I just so badly want to help them get like to the place I'm at now, and I can't do that for them, and no one could do that for me. But it's just so like heartbreaking, because I remember how miserable I was and how much I hated myself, and that's where these poor women are. And like, you cannot, like, that's such a self journey that it's so like, you can love them and support them through it, but you can't fix it for them. So it's hard to watch.
100%. Yeah. That, and the thing that is especially hard for me is seeing young girls go through it.
It's awful for me.
I can't. It's like when I did my tween week, I mean, that broke me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, just, a really good friend of mine, her niece
Mm-hmm.
is overweight and having struggles with that. And, and she's just like, I don't know how to help her. And I'm like, just hearing about it, like, oh my God, these young girls are feeling, and I was there too. And it's just like, I can just know exactly where they're at. And I'm like, oh God, like, how do I just hug you and take it away?
I know. Anytime I see overweight little girls, like, and not even just teenagers, but like little kids, I'm like, just want to hold them.
Right.
Yeah.
And unless they're before the point where somebody has told them that their body is wrong for that.
But that
you know
happens
what I mean?
so young. Like, just even watching my nieces and like when they become aware of their size, it's so crazy to me, like how young these girls are and they're aware of their like size.
Yeah, that was me at like 6. That's when I knew I'm wearing adult sizes.
Yeah.
Like that's.
Yeah, I was
That's
called
weird.
an elephant on the playground in kindergarten. Like, I was like 6 years old and was like, well, I'm fat. So it's like you're little and kids are mean. And then you're like, oh, something's wrong with my body. And you're 6.
Yeah, right.
It's messed up.
Well, it's even messed up too. Like, and maybe this was your experience or not. Like, even with like my best friends, like even going through like that middle school sort of age, high school, still had comments that they didn't realize they were being as mean as they were. Like one of my best friends at the time, say my little pack of best friend girls, like she was just like, yeah, my mom was saying that, a benefit to you being so fat is that like you're more warm in the winter.
Oh my gosh.
And like I'm like,
Wow.
you and your mom are talking about how fat I am.
Jeez.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that too, where this girl was my very best friend. And her mom gave her own set of issues, like making her like measure her butt to see how big it was.
Oh my gosh.
So she had her own stuff going on, but her mom said to me, like, she's like, you would be so pretty if you would just lose weight.
Oh my God.
And so then like, it's like, obviously I'm in my late 30s and repeating this fact sheet, that obviously like lives in me forever now of
You
like,
don't forget it.
You're not pretty unless you lose weight. And then what's the amount of weight you lose till you're finally pretty? And like, it's just like, and you intellectually know this is garbage.
Yeah.
But it still is just in a spin.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's gotta go.
Yeah. You're like, how do I just clear that out of my memory?
Right? And that's what's so scary too, is just like how powerful words are. Of like something that you say to something that you don't even realize could be something they like hang on to forever. I mean, that's also on the other side, and a compliment side.
Yeah.
Being as a person who my only tattoo is like my favorite compliment I ever got, which is, you were a force. Of like, that was just a guy at a gym that was he's like, you are a force, like, you're a force to be reckoned with. And I'm like, I like that compliment that has nothing to do with my body or my looks. That is just like, you're a badass, and I see that.
Right.
And so that will stick with me, obviously, on my body forever, rather than, oh, your hips are so wide, you know?
Well, and even like compliments, like when people call you beautiful, like I don't remember distinct times when people did that, or like people tell me I look skinny. Like, it's like those compliments, like you're a force, that you're like, those stick with you.
Yeah.
Because they have more meaning than like what your body looks like.
So then I think it's such a good challenge. And this was one of my New Year's resolutions a couple years ago, but I feel like I should just implement this forever, is just like, give people more compliments.
Yeah.
Knowing how much that can be a day changer or a game changer.
Yeah.
But it's like so hard for us to like pull a compliment out, but it's so easy to have like some negative comment fall out of our mouth.
Yeah.
And I did that for a while. It's just like to give more compliments. And that's when I started doing this, obviously pre-COVID, when I was writing little Post-it notes that said like, you're beautiful and you're amazing and you're worth it and stuff like that. And I was leaving them in pant pockets at Target, and I was leaving them in gym lockers at Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
Of just like those random things of like, you just see that, like that's something that could be like, oh,
yeah,
I needed that today.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I wish we would all, and then I know this sounds like cornball or whatever, but I wish we would all do more of that. Like if we all committed to doing that one more time a week, like how much better would everything kind of be around us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we could all just be a little bit kinder.
Right?
Just a teensy bit.
Yeah, just 1%.
Yes. Then how much better would the world be?
Right? So maybe that's our challenge for next week.
Yeah.
Is to try to compliment
the shit out of people.
Hell yeah.
You.
Well, before we end this podcast, since we are in person, I want to do the sweet and spicy game.
Oh, gosh.
To end on this like serious note of like compliments and love. And,
oh, my God. And then we're getting sweet and spicy.
Let's ask each other the whacked questions. So, okay. So this game is kind of lame. But if you're interested, I just got it on Amazon. It's called the Sweet and Spicy Truth. There's spicy questions, medium questions, and sweet questions. These are sweet, these are medium, these are spicy. You want to go first? What you're going to choose?
This is your question, right?
Yeah, this is for me.
Oh.
I mean, dang, you're not going for spicy? I was going to say.
I'll go spicy. I'm nervous.
Even though some of these are just so weird.
This one's good. Do you think it would be worse to never get an orgasm or have an orgasm that never goes away?
Oh, God.
I know. Both sound horrible.
Right?
I'm like, I don't really know that there's a positive answer to that one.
Right?
Like,
I mean,
both, I would be like, yeah.
Well, if you had one that never went away, could you even focus on anything else?
No, like I was going to say, I'd probably pick to never have an orgasm.
Yeah, I guess I'd have to pick that one so I could function as a human. I don't think I could function if I'm like 24/7 orgasm.
Imagine how awkward you'd be out in public. Like all the time you'd be like, what is going on with that girl?
I would not be able to leave the house.
No.
Oh, God.
No, and then it wouldn't even be enjoyable at that point.
No, it'd be like almost painful.
Yeah.
And mentally and physically.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to go spicy too.
All right.
Let's see what we got here. How is this spicy? Please tell me how this is spicy. Do you believe in love at first sight?
No.
That is not. I get a do-over.
That should be with a sweet card.
That's a sweet question. Okay. Would you be willing to spend a day at a nudist colony?
Oh, damn. Yeah, probably.
I would, dude.
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of bodies there, so I'd be like, yeah, let's just all be naked together.
Yeah, I think it would just be an experience. I don't know if I would want to do it all the time, but I would do it for sure once.
Yeah, I'd like to do it with no one I knew.
Yeah, and like to be completely honest with you, like, do you?
Oh God,
I'm pretty sure that there's like some event around this that includes like some nudity. Is like I would love to do like a nudist colony thing, like it was Sturgis.
What?
Like, I just want to be with a bunch of naked bikers.
Oh, I was like, what's Sturgis?
It's like the big bike rally.
With a bunch of bikers, you want to be naked?
Biker chicks are badasses.
Dude.
Bunch of biker dudes. And like, cause no, dude,
you know they would be so chill.
If
the biker, oh, dude, I just think it'd be hilarious to see them all naked.
Yeah, they would like be so cool and chill.
That's
I don't
right.
know. I feel like it would be fun.
So my friend's dad is in a like a biker. I don't know if they're called a gang, biker gang, whatever. So we were coming up with our biker names, and mine was totally gonna be Kitty.
Oh, meow.
Oh.
I didn't know you had to have a biker name.
Yeah, they all have names.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Now I need a biker name. I have a trail name, but I don't have a biker name.
Yeah.
And then I did this a couple times with my therapist, and I stopped because I'm like, she's not amused. But I was part of, when I was still at the radio station, I was part of like, anytime I was part of like this thing of like, we had all to get together and have Zoom meetings and Slack meetings and stuff like that, because we're all from all over the country working on this project. And my name was always Cinnamon for everything. And so like anytime I joined any sort of like online virtual thing, I would just do Cinnamon, and I started doing that with my therapist.
No, you didn't. What did she say to you?
She didn't say anything.
What? My therapist would totally say some shit about that.
I'm like, oh my
She'd
God.
be like, what the hell, Shannon?
Stop this. But it makes me laugh.
Cinnamon? I'm changing your name in my phone right now. Ooh, I got a text from Cinnamon.
See, Cinnamon is spicy and sweet.
Ooh.
On that note, I'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day. Have fun eating barbecue with your boyfriend tonight.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
AmandaValentineBites.com